Decades earlier, in the early 19th century, during Japan's Edo period, a girl endured cruel treatment from her father while her older brother stood by, powerless to help. The father locked her away in a dark shed, leaving her alone with only a single flower catching the faint light from a hole in the ceiling. After what felt like an eternity, she was finally set free. That night, her brother followed her during the heavy rain, only to find her on a bridge. Her bandage had slipped, exposing a strange red eye unlike any human's. Though he felt guilty for not protecting her, she didn't blame him. She knew the cost of resistance all too well. But her brother had reached his limit. He decided they had to leave, abandoning their home with nothing but the clothes they wore. They wandered for days, seeking shelter wherever they could. Cold and exhausted, they huddled inside a ruined structure, barely keeping warm. The older brother was constantly worried about his sister, while she did her best to remain strong. One night, as he drifted to sleep, a stranger appeared before them. He extended his hand, offering them safety. By morning, they found themselves in a village unlike any other. Blacksmiths worked tirelessly, their forges burning bright as they crafted powerful blades. Their rescuer, a man of great skill, took them into his home. His daughter welcomed them with warmth, eager to befriend them. It was strange for the siblings, who had never known such kindness. Hesitant at first, they slowly opened up to their new life. That night, the boy couldn't sleep. Watching their guardian polish his sword, he realized that this man was no ordinary warrior. He wasn't just a protector, he was a sentinel, a keeper of both lives and secrets. The gleam of the blade reflected his dedication. Inspired, the boy began practicing in secret, using whatever he could find to mimic a sword. As time passed, they grew accustomed to the village. The girl found new friends, enjoying simple moments she had once thought impossible. Laughter replaced fear, and the siblings began to heal. The boy, now eager to learn, started training in earnest. His skills improved, but his mentor never went easy on him. Strength came through hardship, and he had a long road ahead. 2 years later, he stood before his teacher, a real blade in hand. Though he had grown stronger, there was still much to learn. Every strike, every fall, every drop of sweat brought him closer to his goal. He would not just be a warrior, he would be a legend. Jinta struggled with his training, feeling like he wasn't making any progress. His frustration grew with each session, but his mentor reassured him that, even if change wasn't obvious, it was happening, little by little. With that, the lesson ended, and the mentor moved on to other responsibilities. His daughter quickly ran over, returning his weapon. Afterward, she playfully patted Jinta's head, teasing him about his loss. He wasn't in the mood for jokes, but she insisted that she was the more responsible one despite being younger. As they bantered, his sister appeared, rubbing her sleepy eyes. For some reason, Jinta found himself flustered, though his friend simply smiled and moved on, inviting him to join his sister for breakfast. Years later, Jinta found himself in an important meeting. His skills as a hunter had earned him respect, though he only saw it as doing his duty. A woman asked about his latest encounter, and he revealed that the demon had disguised itself as a human to sneak into the village unnoticed. This revelation unsettled the group, sparking a discussion. Some believed it was related to past tragedies, while others dismissed it as mere rumor. One elder reminded them of a past guardian who had sacrificed himself to defeat a powerful demon. They feared history might repeat itself, especially since demons had a strong interest in an ancient sword that remained untarnished despite its age. A young man in the group was unconcerned, arguing that the village's guardian was well protected and that Jinta was overly confident in his skills. A brief tension arose, but it was quickly diffused as the meeting ended. While the others left, Jinta remained behind with a familiar presence. She removed the formal veil she was required to wear, revealing her face with a sigh of relief. Though she had to act differently in public, here she could relax. Sitting in front of him, she promised to rely on him less. But Jinta didn't see why. Protecting the village and its people was his responsibility. Still, she smiled and mentioned that someone special was waiting. Curious, Jinta lifted the barrier to a restricted area and found his younger sister asleep inside. He worried about the consequences of her being there, but his friend brushed it off, knowing the girl only wanted to see her brother. He had been away from home for too long, always chasing threats in the shadows. While Jinta understood the rules, he gently woke his sister and reminded her that this was not a place she should be. But at that moment, all that mattered was that they were together again. Genta noticed someone coming, and his sister quickly slipped away through a hidden path only she knew. A moment later, a man arrived at the door, asking if he could come in to hear the princess's response to his proposal from the other day. It was Kiyomasa's father. He asked Genta to wait outside for a bit so he could talk privately with a woman. Genta hesitated, saying it was his duty to stay close and protect the Itsuki Haim, but Shirayuki dismissed him. Before leaving, she reminded him how important it was to keep Kano safe. With that in mind, Genta stepped outside, standing firm for a brief moment before his thoughts drifted to the past. Years ago, when they were just kids, there had been a funeral. That night, Shirayuki had told him she would become the Itsuki home. She loved their village, the place her mother had given her life for, and she wanted to keep it strong. But that meant she wouldn't be able to see Genta anymore. Heartbroken but determined, Genta swore he'd find a way to reach her again. He wasn't ready yet. But one day, he'd follow in Maraharu's footsteps, defeat any demon that stood in his way, and become the Sentinel, so he could stand beside Shirayuki once more. She had cried when he said that, and they had held hands in silent understanding. Snapping back to the present, Genta walked away from the sanctuary, allowing the woman to have her meeting. Meanwhile, two demons lurked in the distance, watching. One of them was certain the little girl they saw looked exactly like someone they had encountered before. Later, when Genta returned home with his sister, Suzune spotted him relaxing and asked if he had taken the day off. He explained that he had been dismissed from the sanctuary until evening. Overjoyed, she hugged him tightly. In the process, her eye bandage slipped, but she quickly fixed it. Watching his little sister's happiness, Genta realized he had truly found joy in this simple moment. Suzune too was content just being with her brother. Just then, Shirayuki suddenly showed up at their house, causing Genta to tense up again. She was wandering around the village without a care in the world. She admitted she had sneaked out for the day, but had gotten permission from the village chief, just for today. Suzune excitedly suggested they have breakfast together like they used to. The three of them sat down for a meal, enjoying a rare moment of peace. Of course, Suzune took the chance to tease her brother about the messy breakfast he had prepared for the princess. Genta playfully threatened to scold her, but Shirayuki scoffed, saying he'd never actually do it. Annoyed, Genta insisted he could be strict if necessary. Suzune, unfazed, dared him to hit her forehead, but he just sighed, knowing he couldn't bring himself to do it. After breakfast, he watched Suzune dance around the house full of energy. She cheerfully remarked that she was just happy because he was spending the day with the princess. Seeing her so happy, Genta ruffled her hair affectionately before heading out with Shirayuki. As they walked through the village, people stared. No one knew Shirayuki was the Itsuki Hem, but just seeing Genta with a beautiful woman was enough to spark gossip. They stopped by a food stand where the vendor, Chios, greeted them. Curious about Genta's companion, she asked who she was, but he just said she was a friend. Shirayuki placed a large order, but Genta cut it down to something more reasonable. As they waited, Shirayuki found it odd that Chios didn't recognize her, but she figured it had just been too many years since they last met. When Chios returned with their food, she threw in an extra treat for Genta, something he had loved since childhood. She almost called him Big Brother, but caught herself just in time, quickly apologizing. Genta didn't mind though. He enjoyed his treat while Shirayuki smiled, happy to see him savoring the familiar taste. Afterwards, they headed to the lake, the very place where Shirayuki had once told him she would become the Itsuki Haim. Genta was genuinely enjoying the day, which was a relief to Shirayuki. She had been worried she was just dragging him along for one of her selfish whims. But she had brought him here for a reason. She revealed the big news. By the village chief's orders, she was going to marry Kiyomasa. If demons were targeting the Itsuki Haim, she needed to secure a successor before she ended up like her mother. And since Kiyomasa would one day be a great leader of Kano, their marriage would benefit the entire village. But then, she spoke from her heart. She admitted that she truly loved Genta. She had even thought about running away with him, but she knew he would never go through with it. Genta confirmed that was true, not because he didn't love her, but because he had made a vow to protect Kano, not just Shirayuki. Since childhood, he had dedicated his life to his sword. If Shirayuki had the courage to embrace her role as Itsuki Haim, then he would respect her decision. Running away with her would mean throwing away everything he had worked for. He couldn't live with that. Shirayuki understood. In the end, they were the same. They would always put their responsibilities before their personal desires. She had chosen to be the Itsuki Haim, and she couldn't abandon that now. If she did, then what would that say about her feelings for Genta? So, she decided to remain as the Itsuki Haim, keeping the truth of her love locked in her heart. That way, what she felt for Genta could live on forever. And as for him, he would continue his duty as the Miko's sentinel. Back at home, Suzune anxiously bit her nails as someone approached. Meanwhile, in the village, news spread. 2 demons had been spotted in the Forbidden Forest. Given the situation, Kiyomasa would need to stay behind to protect Kano. Genta noticed someone coming, and his sister quickly slipped away through a hidden path only she knew. A moment later, a man arrived at the door, asking if he could come in to hear the princess's response to his proposal from the other day. It was Kiyomasa's father. He asked Genta to wait outside for a bit, so he could talk privately with a woman. Genta hesitated, saying it was his duty to stay close and protect the Itsuki Haim, but Shirayuki dismissed him. Before leaving, she reminded him how important it was to keep Kano safe. With that in mind, Genta stepped outside, standing firm for a brief moment before his thoughts drifted to the past. Years ago, when they were just kids, there had been a funeral. That night, Shirayuki had told him she would become the Itsuki Haim. She loved their village, the place her mother had given her life for, and she wanted to keep it strong, but that meant she wouldn't be able to see Genta anymore. Heartbroken but determined, Genta swore he'd find a way to reach her again. He wasn't ready yet, but one day he'd follow in Maraharu's footsteps, defeat any demon that stood in his way, and become the Sentinel, so he could stand beside Shirayuki once more. She had cried when he said that, and they had held hands in silent understanding. Snapping back to the present, Genta walked away from the sanctuary, allowing the woman to have her meeting. Meanwhile, 2 demons lurked in the distance, watching. One of them was certain. The little girl they saw looked exactly like someone they had encountered before. Later, when Genta returned home with his sister Suzune spotted him relaxing and asked if he had taken the day off. He explained that he had been dismissed from the sanctuary until evening. Overjoyed, she hugged him tightly. In the process, her eye bandage slipped, but she quickly fixed it. Watching his little sister's happiness, Genta realized he had truly found joy in this simple moment. Suzune, too, was content, just being with her brother. Just then, Shirayuki suddenly showed up at their house, causing Genta to tense up again. She was wandering around the village without a care in the world. She admitted she had sneaked out for the day, but had gotten permission from the village chief, just for today. Suzune excitedly suggested they have breakfast together like they used to. The 3 of them sat down for a meal, enjoying a rare moment of peace. Of course, Suzune took the chance to tease her brother about the messy breakfast he had prepared for the princess. Genta playfully threatened to scold her, but Shirayuki scoffed, saying he'd never actually do it. Annoyed, Genta insisted he could be strict if necessary. Suzune, unfazed, dared him to hit her forehead, but he just sighed, knowing he couldn't bring himself to do it. After breakfast, he watched Suzune dance around the house, full of energy. She cheerfully remarked that she was just happy because he was spending the day with the princess. Seeing her so happy, Genta ruffled her hair affectionately before heading out with Shirayuki. As they walked through the village, people stared. No one knew Shirayuki was the Itsuki Haim, but just seeing Genta with a beautiful woman was enough to spark gossip. They stopped by a food stand, where the vendor, Kios, greeted them. Curious about Genta's companion, she asked who she was, but he just said she was a friend. Shirayuki placed a large order, but Genta cut it down to something more reasonable. As they waited, Shirayuki found it odd that Chios didn't recognize her, but she figured it had just been too many years since they last met. When Chios returned with their food, she threw in an extra treat for Genta, something he had loved since childhood. She almost called him Big Brother, but caught herself just in time, quickly apologizing. Genta didn't mind though. He enjoyed his treat, while Shirayuki smiled, happy to see him savoring the familiar taste. Afterwards, they headed to the lake, the very place where Shirayuki had once told him she would become the Itsuki Haim. Genta was genuinely enjoying the day, which was a relief to Shirayuki. She had been worried she was just dragging him along for one of her selfish whims, but she had brought him here for a reason. She revealed the big news. By the village chief's orders, she was going to marry Kiyomasa. If demons were targeting the Itsuki Haim, she needed to secure a successor before she ended up like her mother. And since Kiyomasa would one day be a great leader of Kano, their marriage would benefit the entire village. But then, she spoke from her heart. She admitted that she truly loved Genta. She had even thought about running away with him, but she knew he would never go through with it. Genta confirmed that was true, not because he didn't love her, but because he had made a vow to protect Kano, not just Shirayuki. Since childhood, he had dedicated his life to his sword. If Shirayuki had the courage to embrace her role as Itsuki Haim, then he would respect her decision. Running away with her would mean throwing away everything he had worked for. He couldn't live with that. Shirayuki understood. In the end, they were the same. They would always put their responsibilities before their personal desires. She had chosen to be the Itsuki Haim, and she couldn't abandon that now. If she did, then what would that say about her feelings for Genta? So she decided to remain as the Itsuki Haim, keeping the truth of her love locked in her heart. That way, what she felt for Genta could live on forever. And as for him, he would continue his duty as the Miko Sentinel. Back at home, Suzune anxiously bit her nails as someone approached. Meanwhile, in the village, news spread 2 demons had been spotted in the Forbidden Forest. Given the situation, Kiyomasa would need to stay behind to protect Kano. Suzanne is curious about the powers the demon has, and the demon tells her that all she needs to do is follow it. After all, demons never lie, so there's no reason to be scared. But Suzanne isn't convinced. She worries about her brother getting hurt, even if the demon promises not to harm her. The demon then touches her forehead, and suddenly Suzanne gets a vision. She sees her brother and Shirayuki in a very close moment, and it makes her feel sick. The demon explains that it can show her the future, but since she doesn't believe what she saw, it invites her to see more. Eventually, Suzanne reaches out to the demon. Meanwhile, Genta is in a tough fight. He managed to land a solid hit, but now it seems like the demon has the upper hand. During a brief pause, Genta asks why the demon is threatening humans. The demon explains that it has a purpose, and it can't change who it is. Genta, determined, says he won't show mercy, which the demon thinks is a smart move. After all, it wouldn't be wise to let a creature that can devour other demons live. With that, the demon's arm grows huge, and one punch could easily take Genta's arm off. Even though he's scared, Genta tries to block the blow, but the demon bites his sword and breaks it. Fear fills Genta's eyes, but he instinctively grabs the broken sword and stabs the demon in the chest, finally bringing it down. As the demon lies defeated, it tells Genta that it fulfilled its purpose. It reveals that Genta's sister has a special gift, and that a powerful evil will come to their village in 170 years. That's why the demon came here. It was after her. Genta realizes the demon is talking about his sister, and it hits him hard. Just then, the demon, using its severed arm, grabs Genta. It recalls Genta's words about protecting loved ones, and questions what happens if someone no longer deserves that protection. Meanwhile, Kiyomasa is enjoying a quiet moment with Shirayuki, but she's worried about Genta in the forest. Kiyomasa teases her, saying she should be more concerned if Genta hears them together. This reminds Shirayuki of a promise Genta made to her, and she feels sad but reassures herself that she chose this path for the village's safety. She slowly approaches Kiyomasa, who seems a bit confused by her actions. She holds his face and kisses him. At that moment, the demon shows Suzanne that it was telling the truth, and she sees everything happening. Meanwhile, Genta gets back up, telling himself he's not done yet. He looks around and sees the demon is gone, so he rushes home to find his sister. As he approaches the village, he sees it's on fire, but Suzanne asks Shirayuki what she saw, thinking she loves her brother, but Suzanne complains that she always tries to help her friends stay close to Genta. Suzanne's brother is running through the city, and she feels like seeing Shirayuki with another man is the last straw. Shirayuki admits that Suzanne has always loved her brother deeply, to the point where it held her back from growing up and being her own person. But now, she feels she has to become someone else to keep Kano's legacy alive, especially since it's the only way to return Genta's feelings. Suzanne can't believe what she's hearing. She feels like Shirayuki has taken everything she ever wanted and thrown it away. Overwhelmed with sadness, she starts to physically hurt, as her life feels like it's falling apart. In her anguish, she rips off the bandage covering her right eye, revealing the demon-infested eye beneath. Shirayuki tries to explain herself, but Suzanne tells her to be quiet. The demon takes this chance to remind Suzanne that she was right all along. Genta has been fighting for a woman who ran to another man. The demon suggests that killing Shirayuki might make Suzanne feel better. With that, A dark energy fills the room and attacks the couple. Suzanne transforms into a grown demon, filled with rage and ready to take down Shirayuki. Kiyomasa rushes to grab the holy sword, Yarai, but the more experienced demon pushes him away, keeping the fight between the two women. The blow Kiyomasa took sends the sword flying to Suzanne's feet. The demon tells her that Shirayuki would be happy to die by that sword, which her people hold in high regard. With that, the demon takes Kiyomasa away, leaving Suzanne to face Shirayuki alone, a smile on her face. Suzanne pulls out Yarai, excited for the fight. Just then, Genta arrives and hugs Shirayuki tightly. But in that moment, tragedy strikes, as Shirayuki's head is suddenly severed from her body. Suzanne approaches, holding the head in her hand, celebrating her brother's return. Genta is instantly traumatized, flooded with memories of everything he shared with Shirayuki. Meanwhile, Suzanne is laughing as she repeatedly stabs Shirayuki's lifeless body. Overcome with anger and confusion, Genta tries to strike Suzanne with his sword, but he misses. Suzanne seems to shift between the innocent little girl she used to be and the demon she has become, believing she's still facing her brother. Genta asks her why she did this, but Suzanne doesn't get why he's upset. After all, she killed the princess for him, thinking he should be happy, since she was going to marry someone else. Exhausted from all the chaos, Suzanne just wants to go home, feeling lost and confused. Genta is filled with anger as he tells Suzune that she has betrayed the good people of Kanu who raised them like family. He can't believe she went so far as to kill Shirayuki. Yet, all she can think about is how tired she is and how she just wants to go home. In that moment, Genta realizes that his little sister is gone, replaced by something dark. Memories of the old Suzune flood his mind, and he feels a mix of madness and despair. He attacks her again, unsure of what to do next. Feeling defeated, he laughs bitterly, feeling pathetic as he watches everything he loves slip away. But then, something inside him stirs. He remembers that he still has hatred for everything and everyone. Suzune panics, trying to explain that she thought killing Shirayuki was what Genta wanted, but he tells her to be quiet. Suzune believes Genta will abandon her like everyone else did. She thought he was different, the one person who would always be by her side, but if he can't stay loyal to her, then she decides to turn against the world. In a fit of rage, she starts shooting wildly around the shrine, losing control. She lunges at Genta, stabbing him in the belly, but when she tries to pull her hand out, it gets stuck. Genta had tensed his muscles to keep her from escaping, and now he's ready to crush her. A flashback shows Suzune offering her forehead for Genta to hit, but this time, he strikes her with all his strength, showing no mercy. He follows up with an even harder blow. However, the demon that corrupted Suzune steps in to absorb the impact, saving her from the full force of the attack. The demon smiles, blood dripping from its lips, while Suzune heads for the exit of the shrine, declaring her hatred for everything. She vows to destroy everything in her path, people, nations, whatever it takes. She warns Genta to remember her words because one day she'll return to see him one last time before everything ends. As she leaves, the demon laughs, feeling victorious, having fulfilled its purpose. Genta, furious, questions how the demon's purpose can be a senseless bloodbath. The demon shows no remorse, explaining that it has seen the future. In that future, darkness will be replaced by light, and demons will become mere myths. With that, the demon vanishes, like dust in the wind, and rain begins to fall on Kano village. Genta holds Shirayuki's decapitated body, slowly coming to terms with the harsh reality. After all the years of hard work and promises, he feels like a true failure as a sentinel. Overwhelmed with love for Shirayuki and pain for her loss, he lets out a cry that gets drowned out by the rain. As dawn breaks over the ruined village, Genta ties his sandals and sees memories of his family playing in the yard. He leaves his house, where the village chief is waiting to greet him. Genta announces that he's leaving the village to start fresh and prepare to face the demon god that threatens their land. The chief questions whether Genta really plans to give in to anger and kill his own sister, sensing that this isn't what Genta truly wants. Genta expressed that Suzune was his beloved little sister, but he also had deep feelings for Shirayuki. The pain of knowing she had been killed without him being able to help was unbearable. He admitted that dark thoughts were creeping in, urging him to take revenge on Suzune. Still, he hoped to find a peaceful solution to the conflict. The village chief, seeing the struggle within Genta, realized that even though he had become a demon, there was still some goodness left in him. The chief handed Genta the sacred sword Yorai and asked him to draw it. Genta complied, and the chief announced him as the new bearer of the sword, which came with a new name, Genia. Genta felt unworthy of such an honor, but the chief reminded him that the line of Itsuki Haim had ended, and the sword would only gather dust if left in the shrine. It was better for it to be with a sentinel who could honor its legacy. The chief knelt before Gini, asking for forgiveness, knowing about Genta's love for Shirayuki. He also acknowledged that Kiyomasa loved her too, but he had arranged their marriage for the good of Kano, wanting to see his son happy. Despite the harsh truths, Gini comforted the village leader. As they said their goodbyes, the chief mentioned that if Gini ever returned to Kano, he should build a shrine in his honor. This sacred place would be called Genta Shrine, a reminder that while people and towns may not last forever, some things can leave a lasting impact. Before Gini set off on his new journey, Chitose appeared, telling him that, in her eyes, he was still the same person he had always been. Gini promised to return soon and asked her to save some isomoka for him when that time came. As he traveled, he shielded his eyes from the bright sun and began to understand why demons seemed so satisfied with fulfilling their purposes. He reflected on how 170 years felt like a long time. Eventually, he reached another shrine where the Miko was lost in thought, unaware that events from the past were connected to her present. She noticed the tears on Genta's face, sensing they were tied to the reason she was there. Soon she would learn about the long and difficult journey he had endured over the last 170 years. 3 years into the Kai era, in a quiet little village far from all the noise of the outside world, Genta walks into a cozy shop. The shop belongs to a calm guy named Yuso, and helping him out is a more serious fellow named Senji. After a quick hello, Genta gets straight to the point. He's here about a job. Yuso fills him in, then sends him to chat privately with Senji. Senji, always the careful type, pulls Genta aside and checks how much he really knows about Yuso. Genta says he knows Yuso has a daughter, not by blood but someone he deeply cares for. Apparently something nasty has been going after her. Yuso wants Genta to deal with it. But Senji can tell Genta doesn't have the full story yet, so he shares more. The girl's name is Natsu, she's almost 13, and for 3 nights in a row, some kind of demon has shown up outside her window, screaming the same creepy line over and over, "Give me back my daughter." It's like the demon actually believes Natsu is his. Right then, the door slams open. Natsu storms in, annoyed that Senji isn't doing his job. She notices Genta and assumes he's another bodyguard her dad hired. She doesn't even wait for an explanation, just coldly tells him to leave. To her, he's just another merc looking to get paid. Senji tries to calm her down, mentioning that Yuso hand-picked Genta, but she's not interested. She says she doesn't need protection, and she's definitely not paying for it. Senji shrugs it off and quietly apologizes to Genta. That night, Senji takes the night watch outside Natsu's room, sword in hand. Even though she doesn't trust him, he's determined to protect her. Deep down, he hopes someone like him can make a difference. Natsu, surprised, tells him not to take her words too seriously. She notices he's scared and figures her dad must have told him to be here. Maybe it's Yuzo's way of trying to connect with her. Then she says something heavy. She's not Yuzo's real daughter. Before anything else can be said, a creepy voice echoes through the night. The demon is back. Natsu freezes. The monster rises from the earth, yelling again about wanting his daughter back. Natsu peeks outside and finally sees it for the first time, and it terrifies her. Senji tries to move, but fear takes over. He can't even raise his sword. The demon goes in for the kill when a silver flash tears through the air. The demon's arm hits the ground. Genta showed up. Cool and deadly, he steps between them and the demon. He tries to get its name, but it just repeats the same thing before charging again. Genta doesn't waste time. He slices the demon clean in half. It disappears into mist. But not the kind that means it's dead. Natsu asks if it's gone for good. Genta calmly says, no. When demons die, they turn into white smoke. That one didn't. It'll return. Later, Senji quietly thanks Genta for saving them and asks if he'll keep protecting Natsu. Genta nods, though the demon's words still haunt him. Then Senji shares more of the truth. Natsu's real parents were related to Yuso somehow, but they died long ago. Yuso took her in. Even if the demon was angry, Natsu isn't his, and if she were, Yuso never would have raised her. The man lost everything to demons. His wife was killed, and his only son disappeared. That's why he hates demons. He wouldn't love one. That evening, during dinner, Natsu sits with Yuso. He casually asks what she thinks about the new bodyguard. She says Senji might be rough around the edges, but he's not bad. She's also thankful her dad still cares so much. She gets curious and asks why Genta was chosen. Yuso tells her that demons have been popping up in Edo again. But there's also a rumor, a swordsman who slays demons with nothing but his blade. That swordsman is Genta. They say he never fails, and more importantly, he can be trusted. Hearing that gives Natsu some comfort. Maybe her dad does believe in her after all. The next day, Natsu is lost in thought. She used to laugh at ghost stories and demon tales, but now, after seeing one up close, everything feels different. She remembers hearing people whisper about her dad's past, how he lost his wife, and how his son vanished. She starts to wonder if that's why Yuso adopted a girl instead of another boy. All these thoughts mess with her head. She realizes that sometimes the scariest stuff isn't what's hiding under your bed, it's the truths you try to ignore. That night, Genta and Senji both stand guard again. Senji says he's there to make up for freezing during the last attack. Natsu, feeling a bit better, tells him that next time she wants to go for a walk, just once. Later, she finally asks Genta his name. When he tells her, she mentions how highly her dad thinks of him. Because of that, she says she'll trust him, at least for now. Genta notices how much she looks up to Yuso. To her, that's normal. That's how she was raised. Genta smiles a little and says it's a good thing. Yuso clearly worries about her a lot. Natsu seems glad to hear it. But then Genta asks about Yuso's missing son. Natsu stiffens. She quickly says she doesn't know anything about it. Genta catches her nervousness and apologizes for bringing it up too suddenly. Natsu suddenly asks something strange. If a demon and a human could ever have a kid, Genta says it's possible. That answer makes her start to question everything she thought she knew about the demon. Realizing what she meant, Genta makes it clear the demon isn't family. He knows that for sure because he's met the demon before and shares a history with him. Then Genta throws out a question. How do people think demons are born anyway? Most folks just assume they come from demon parents, like humans do, but it's not that simple. Genta explains that demons can come into the world in different ways. Some are from two demons, others are the result of something twisted with humans, and some just show up out of nowhere. He explains that human emotions carry power. When someone holds on to heavy feelings, like anger, hate, jealousy, sadness, those feelings build up. Over time, they can take on a life of their own, and when they do, they become demons. Basically, these demons are emotions turned into living beings. Just as he finishes talking, the demon appears right in front of them. Genta steps forward and asks its name, but the demon doesn't answer. Instead, it demands they return his daughter. Genta doesn't back down. He easily dodges the attacks and slams the demon to the ground. Then he turns to Natsu and asks if he can finish it off. Even if he does, he explains, the demon will just come back. That's because it was born from her. Not her body, but her feelings. It's her pain, her loneliness, her wish for her father to care. Every time someone says something she doesn't like, the demon lashes out. A part of her wanted this without realizing it. Natsu looks shaken and begs him to stop. She can't believe it. Why does the demon look so ugly? Genta answers straight. It'll keep returning until she truly lets go. Killing it won't work unless her heart changes. So she asks him what she should do. He tells her it's simple, just give the word, and he'll take care of it. Natsu starts thinking. She remembers how she used to ignore things that hurt. She always pushed away her weakness, but deep down all she ever wanted was love. She never believed she could have it. Somewhere in her mind she thought that if a demon attacked her, maybe her father would finally show he cared. As all the pieces come together, she realizes the truth. That demon is her. And in that moment, she feels like the one who deserves to be destroyed is herself. But Senji stops her before she goes too far. He reminds her how important she is to Master Yuso, that to him, she's family, real family. He says it's time to talk things out, properly, the way families should. Thanks to him, Natsu starts to calm down. She pulls herself together, clears her mind, and gives Genta the green light to end it. After it's done, Genta stands still, staring at the spot where the demon vanished, but he notices something else lying there, something he expected. Since the demon came from her feelings, once she let go of those feelings, the demon had no reason to exist. Still, there's another presence, a woman, and she has the same potential to become a demon. That thought brings him back to what Sanji said earlier about how Yusa's wife was killed by a demon. Now Genta gets it. The demon's constant demand to bring back his daughter wasn't just because of Natsu's feelings, it went deeper. The child that demon was calling for was actually Yusa's daughter, born from his late wife. That thought makes Genta think of someone, Sasune. He never imagined they'd meet again like this, and she doesn't even remember him. So, at the very end he asks her name. When she doesn't respond, he gently ends it. As she fades away, he softly calls her Mother. The next day, Genta tells Natsu and Senji that he wasn't there for work, he just came to settle an old debt. He admits something: just living a long time doesn't make someone wise. When he was young, he only saw the surface of the world. He thought hurting others was always wrong, but he didn't understand the deeper reasons behind people's actions. Back then, he didn't have the strength to do anything. This time, he just wanted to make things right. Natsu doesn't get what he means, so he puts it simply: respect your parents while you still can. As he's about to leave, he bumps into Yuso. Senji wonders why Genta didn't say goodbye if they're friends. Genta just shrugs. He says there's no need. From the moment he met Senji, he knew the guy could handle things. That makes Senji remember something Natsu said, how everyone seems to respect Genta. So he asks why. Genta just laughs it off and says, "That's a silly question. After all, a father always knows his own child." Before Senji can ask what that means, he gets called to work again. Natsu decides not to push the topic. Instead, she asks Yuso if she can help out with anything. Someone once told her it's better to honor your parents before it's too late. Yuso knows right away that it was Genta. He tells her not to worry, the best thing she can do for them is to keep living. In the final scene, Genta is back on the road. He thinks about everything that just happened and quietly smiles to himself. In year 6 of the Kai era, Ginnya stops by a small ramen shop. The owner, who's really proud of his daughter, Ofu, asks her to serve Ginnya a bowl of ramen. She does a great job and he smiles with pride. The atmosphere is chill, but there's a bit of unease hanging around. The shop owner talks about some scary stuff happening outside, murders that make him worry about Ofu's safety. He wishes the shogunate would do something about it. Ginnya tells him to be careful with his words, and the owner just wants to keep his business running. He got the shop for a good price, which doesn't surprise Ginnya considering the neighborhood. The owner notices Ginnya has been coming in every day for the last 5 days and jokes about it. Ofu rolls her eyes at her dad for teasing their only regular. When asked about the ramen, Ginnya gives his honest opinion, saying it's just okay. The owner laughs, admitting he rushed the cooking. He opened the shop for a reason, and Ginnya surprisingly agrees that he has his own story too. After finishing his meal, Ginnya pays. The owner, curious about what he does, asks about his job. Ginnya simply says he hunts demons, which makes the owner laugh, joking about hunting dragons next. As Ginnya gets ready to leave, the owner brings up the murders again, mentioning that the victims were found in bad shape, with no signs of sword wounds. It's odd, and the number of bodies doesn't match the missing people. Sounds like a demon's work, which piques Ginya's interest. He asks where it happened, and the owner tells him it's near Dobushi Bridge. Before he leaves, Ofu warns Ginnya to be careful at night. He brushes it off, saying he's not a kid, but she replies that he's a bit too full of himself for his age. Later that night, Ginnya patrols the area, but doesn't see anything at first. Suddenly, he hears a woman scream and rushes toward the sound. When he gets to the bridge, he finds several dead men. The woman must be in trouble somewhere else. Just then, something attacks him out of nowhere. He quickly gets into a defensive stance, blocking the next hit, but takes a wound from another strike. This isn't just any attacker, it's a demon that can turn invisible. Ginnya gets serious and summons his demon arm, ready to fight back. His counterattack forces the demon to reveal itself. Ginnya demands to know its name before finishing it off. The demon introduces itself as Muskel. Ignoring its pleas, Ginnya gets ready to attack, but Muskel suddenly drops its weapons and raises its hands, saying it doesn't want to fight. Ginia is skeptical, pointing out that it attacked innocent people. Muskel explains it thought Ginia was the real killer since there are rumors about a demon being behind the murders, and Ginia smelled like one. Turns out, this whole situation was just a big misunderstanding. Ginia, still unsure, asks why a demon would be looking for a killer. Muskel says it'll explain, but only in private. So, Muskel takes Ginia to its place. Changing into a human form, it explains that some demons live among humans. They can't lie but are good at hiding the truth. Muskel pours Ginia a drink, admitting it's cheapsake but not poisoned. Ginia casually mentions that poison wouldn't affect him anyway and takes a sip. Muskel introduces itself as just a regular guy living in a simple home. But Ginia sees right through that. He knows Muskel is a demon, one who can vanish without even trying. Muskel explains that its power is invisibility, and since it's been around for over 100 years, it's technically a high-ranking demon. Ginia shrugs it off, calling him weak. Muskel doesn't argue. It knows that just because some demons have special powers doesn't mean they're strong. In fact, some of those so-called elite demons are actually weaker than others. After a tense moment, they both confirm they're not the serial killer. Ginia, still cautious, decides to trust Muskel. He asks why Muskel attacked him earlier, thinking he was the killer. Muskel admits it was out of revenge. Then it shifts the topic to the disappearances, asking if Ginia knows anything. Ginia explains that the number of missing people doesn't match the bodies found. He even heard a woman scream once, but when he checked, he only found dead men. Muskel shares its theory that the killer targets men for murder and kidnaps women. It knows this because its wife, Hatsu, a kind human who accepted it as a demon, was taken. She disappeared a month ago, and 10 days later her body was found in the river, showing signs of abuse. Muskel is heartbroken, saying Hatsu didn't deserve such a terrible fate. She loved him, something he rarely felt from humans. He didn't live among them out of love, but Hatsu genuinely cared for him. Her loss filled him with a deep rage toward the killer who hurt her and took her away. Muskel makes it clear it wants revenge and wants to handle it alone. Ginia refuses, saying hunting demons is his only purpose, it's all he knows. Seeing that Ginia won't back down, Muskel suggests they team up. They can search separately and share what they find, and if they catch the killer, Muskel wants the chance to finish it himself. Ginia questions if Muskel is really ready for that. Killing someone, whether human or demon, isn't easy, and he wants to know if Muskel can deal with the aftermath. Muskel, serious and calm, insists that demons don't lie, neither to others nor to themselves. That answer convinces Ginia, and he agrees to work together. Muskel finally relaxes, knowing there was no way to push Ginia out of the case. Days go by, but neither of them finds any solid leads. One night, feeling frustrated, Muskel suggests they take a more direct approach and start hunting the killer themselves. Ginia agrees. As they head home later that night, Muskel asks Ginia why he hunts demons. Ginia bluntly replies that, above all, it's for the money. Ginia doesn't hold back. He admits he hunts demons because humans hate them and pay well to get rid of them. Muskel thinks that doesn't make Ginia a bad guy. He sees him as someone who doesn't kill for no reason. Plus, Ginia enjoys the sake he buys with that cash, so it's not all bad. Ginia chuckles at that, and Muskel laughs too. It's kind of funny. Then Muskel asks if there's another reason behind Ginia's work. Ginia nods and says there is. He wants to get stronger. His main goal is to take down a specific demon. He opens up a bit, sharing that he used to be human, but demons killed someone he cared about and turned him into what he is now. So it makes sense that he hunts the most dangerous ones. Muskel asks if Ginia plans to stop this demon or actually kill it. Ginia thinks back to that life-changing day. After a moment, he says he'll decide when they finally meet. Either way, he knows he needs to get stronger because right now, he feels weak. Switching gears, Ginia asks Muskel what he'll do once he gets revenge for his wife. Muskel admits he doesn't have any specific plans. He hates conflict, which is why he takes on his current form. He didn't want to be hunted by humans or targeted by other demons. All he ever wanted was a quiet life, especially with his wife by his side. After avenging her, he just wants to live peacefully and take care of her grave. Ginia recalls something Muskel said earlier about not acting without a reason, but now he wonders if he might have given Muskel too much credit. He admits he actually hates his younger sister, and he doesn't even know why. The next day, Jinya goes back to the same ramen shop. While they're making his meal, Ofu, the waitress, asks if he's made any progress on the serial killer case. Jinya is surprised. He never mentioned anything about it. Ofu quickly explains that since he said he hunts demons for a living, she figured investigating that rumor might be part of his job. Understanding her logic, he tells her the investigation isn't going well. The shop owner joins in, saying times are tough for everyone. Jinya agrees and jokingly points out that no one seems to notice how cute Ofu is, criticizing how rushed people in Edo have become. Ofu blushes at the compliment and her dad walks over, asking if Jinya really thinks his daughter is cute. Jinya honestly replies that most people would find her beautiful. The old man praises Jinya for having good taste. Ofu scolds her dad, clearly embarrassed, and tells him to stop. It's making Jinya uncomfortable. She adds that she plans to move out someday, but for now, she just wants to enjoy being his daughter a little longer. Her dad gets a bit emotional and apologizes before quietly heading back to the kitchen. Once things settle down, Ofu apologizes to Jinya for the awkward moment. He reassures her it's fine. Her dad seems like a good guy. Noticing Jinya's expression, Ofu gently asks if his own father wasn't like that with him. When he doesn't answer, she quickly apologizes for prying. Jinya is upfront about why he hunts demons. Humans despise them and pay well to get rid of the problem. Muskel doesn't see that as a bad thing. He thinks Jinya is just doing what he has to do. Plus, Jinya enjoys the steak he buys with his earnings, so it's not all bad. They both share a laugh over it, and then Muskel wonders if there's more to Jinya's story. Jinya admits there is. He wants to get stronger and has his sights set on a particular demon. He opens up a bit, revealing that he used to be human, but demons took someone important from him and turned him into what he is now. It makes sense that he targets the most dangerous ones. Muskel asks if Jinya plans to just stop this demon or actually take it out. Jinya reflects on that pivotal day and decides he'll figure it out when the time comes. He knows he needs to toughen up because he feels weak right now. Changing the subject, Jinya asks Muskel what he'll do after he gets revenge for his wife. Muskel admits he hasn't thought that far ahead. He dislikes conflict, which is why he chose his current form. He didn't want to be hunted by humans or other demons. All he ever wanted was a peaceful life with his wife. After avenging her, he just wants to live quietly and care for her grave. Jinya remembers something Muskel said about having reasons for actions, but now he wonders if he might have overestimated Muskel. He confesses that he actually has a grudge against his younger sister, and he doesn't even know why. The next day, Jinya heads back to the ramen shop. While waiting for his meal, Ofu, the waitress, asks if he's made any headway on the serial killer case. Jinya is taken aback. He never mentioned anything about it. Ofu explains that since he said he hunts demons for a living, she thought investigating that rumor might be part of his job. He gets her point and admits the investigation isn't going well. The shop owner chimes in, saying times are tough for everyone. Jinya agrees and jokingly mentions that no one seems to notice how cute Ofu is, poking fun at how rushed people in Edo have become. Ofu blushes at the compliment, and her dad comes over, asking if Jinya really thinks his daughter is cute. Jinya honestly says most people would find her beautiful, and the old man praises him for having good taste. Ofu scolds her dad, clearly embarrassed, and tells him to stop. It's making Jinya uncomfortable. She adds that she plans to move out someday, but for now she just wants to enjoy being his daughter a little longer. Her dad gets a bit emotional and apologizes before quietly heading back to the kitchen. Once things calm down, Ofu apologizes to Jinya for the awkward moment. He reassures her it's all good. Her dad seems like a decent guy. Noticing Jinya's expression, Ofu gently asks if his own father wasn't like that with him. When he doesn't respond, she quickly apologizes for prying. Jinya decides to share a bit about his life. He talks about his younger sister Suzune. Their dad was abusive toward her, even telling her she wasn't really his daughter. That's why Jinya eventually left home with her. Despite everything, he doesn't hold a grudge against his father. He understands that life can be complicated sometimes. Later that night, Muskel meets up with Jinya again and asks if he's found out anything new. Unfortunately, Jinya still has nothing to report, which leaves Muskel feeling a bit let down. He was really hoping they'd be closer to catching the criminal by now. As they walk across a bridge, Muskel spots a girl standing alone in the distance. Jinya recognizes her right away. It's Ofu, the daughter of the soba shop owner. He points her out. and Muskel comments that she shouldn't be out there by herself. Jinya decides to check on her, and Muskel agrees, saying it's a good idea. When Jinya approaches, Ofu greets him with a calm smile. She asks if he thinks the moon looks beautiful tonight, and wonders if he's out for a walk alone. Jinya starts to say he's with Muskel, but Muskel suddenly turns invisible and whispers that he'll give them some space so Jinya can walk her home. They both want to make sure she stays safe. Ofu notices Jinya hesitating and asks if something's wrong. He reassures her that everything's fine and then asks what she's doing out so late. She explains that she was admiring the cherry tree, but Jinya mistakenly thinks it's a willow. Ofu gently corrects him and invites him to take a closer look. She tells him it's called a snow willow. Its branches droop under the weight of its blossoms, making it look like a willow covered in snow, but it's actually a type of cherry tree. Jinya finds it interesting, a cherry tree that looks like a willow, but isn't one. He ends up saying, so it's not one or the other, and feels a bit sorry for it. But Ofu doesn't see it that way. She thinks it's beautiful. Even if people don't see it as a true willow or a proper cherry tree, the snow willow still blooms with stunning flowers every year. She doesn't know what the tree feels, but she doubts it hates being what it is, because if it did, it wouldn't bloom every spring. She explains that there's no need to feel sorry for it. Whether it's a willow or a cherry, when spring comes, it's full of beautiful flowers. Jinya can't help but smile at her words. It's a nice thought, and he learns something new. That's just how flowers live. Ofu laughs softly at his comment, keeping the mood light and warm. Jinya offers to walk her home, knowing her dad is probably worried since it's late and the streets aren't the safest. She happily agrees and smiles as she asks him to walk her home. And that's how this episode wraps up.